All right. Welcome to NYVR. Can I get a round of applause for the best medium ever? Let me go through some housekeeping stuff here. Sorry about that. Okay, great. So, welcome. First off, I always like to ask, who is here for the first time? Please raise your hand. Welcome. Awesome. All right, so just for your information, NYVR is here. We are dedicated to fostering an ecosystem for virtual reality developers in New York City. So essentially, we're here to help you out. So if you have questions, if you need help, let us know. I am DJ, I'm the organizer. I'm the Chief Creative Officer at Glimpse Group. This is Ron, our CEO.
Hey.
Round of applause for Ron, being the second place. All right, so tonight we're going to do presentations for an hour. I should say we already just did. Thanks to our sponsor at Glimpse Group for providing the event space today. We're going to talk a little bit about that a little later. Okay, and thank you to our team of volunteers, Anthony, Jean, Steve up here, everything together. And Jimmy, who helps with, is not here, but he helps with the broadcast. So just for newbies, all of the events are broadcast. In the meetup description is this YouTube. You can see it live, and then it also records it, so you can go back and see any of our past events. For maybe there's a bunch of them in there. Also for the new folks, we do something called the NYVR Collaboration Group. This is designed to help members meet like-minded members and start creating VR. So if you are looking to enhance your portfolio, essentially come up to me, tell me what you're interested in doing, what your skill set is, and I will typically pair you up with, if you're like a Unity developer, I'll pair you up with a project manager and an artist and kind of set you off on a thing. So we've had many teams come and go over the years. Some of them actually went on to become startups, very successful. So really enjoy that whole program and definitely encourage you to take advantage of it. One of our teams right now is helping with a project. It's a charitable project. And it's helping nonverbal people on the spectrum to be able to speak. Really wonderful program that I'm very excited to see that develop. And then also I'm always looking for future presenters at any XR startup. So if you are working on anything, like to speak, let me know. We also have an open policy on demos. I really love all the demos tonight. Love having demos around so that the community can check things out and provide feedback. So definitely encourage anyone to bring what they've been working on. A couple of announcements. DJ Manny, one of our community members, and Chris, I know Chris, you're involved, Customer XRs, there he is involved in this. So this is tomorrow night in Horizon. Definitely check it out, 6 p.m. We have the amazing collaboration with all of the XR communities. I'm so excited about this. The RSVP is 170. Yeah, so it's 140 with like 30 maybes. I don't know how maybes work.
It's 300. We have 300 occupancy.
Yeah, 300 occupancy.
Yeah,
So this is a collaboration with the XR Guild, AWE, NYVR, VRARA, Uni NYC, Unreal NYC, the Polys, and XR Motion, which is basically the most kick-ass meetups ever. So it's super cool. I'm really excited this year. And then we have the Game Awards that's coming up in January. Jean, thank you for giving us the heads up about that one. And XR Ribbon, next week, there's a super cool platform. Oh, it's Patch World, which I haven't checked out yet, but it's like a music-related platform, multi-user, so check that out. I am going to be going
Yes,
to that.
I know what you're looking
Yeah. Okay, and then again for the newbies, we have a LinkedIn page hit that up. That's usually the way we communicate. All right, so the big announcement, some of you might have heard this. Unfortunately, this will be the last NYVR at this location. Yes. So Glimpse Group is moving offices. So we're looking for a little bit of a home, or a little bit more of NYVR is going to evolve. So I've been doing a lot of thinking of what NYVR looks like in the new year. We don't have a new space to kind of easily just jump into, but I'm actually looking at this as an opportunity. So a couple of the key initiatives in the new year. So one thing that I know for sure is that I want to do art and VR bigger and better. So most people who've been involved with NYVR is used to our annual art and VR event. It's usually the biggest event. We have a tilt brush competition and a bunch of demos, and it just celebrates art in VR. I really want to grow that event much bigger. Last year, I think it was 200. We've had awesome events in that. So I'm going to be really focusing a lot of effort in developing that into its own new thing. I also lately really enjoyed doing collaborative events with the other XR communities. We just in November partnered with Unity NYC, and it was really great. So I definitely want to focus in on that. I also have enjoyed doing special venue events. Recently we were at the Eclipso VR entertainment facility. We've done that several times in the past, where we kind of make a deal with the venue and close the doors and can bring our whole community in. And I really enjoyed those. And then most importantly, for nearly a decade, people have been like, why do you meet in person? You're a VR meetup. So we're going to start meeting in VR. Last couple months I've been testing out our system. Glimpse Group has a multi-user platform called Foretell Reality. It seats 25 people in a space, so it's not as large. But we're actually working to potentially expand that. But I also really enjoy the intimate, close-knit types of conversations you can have with 25 people in a space. So I'm trying to figure out how to scale that. The events I've been doing in VR have been focused specifically on music/VR related topics. And I've really enjoyed that. I'm a musician. And there surprisingly is enough content out there to kind of continue doing that. So those are the initiatives that I'm looking into for the new year, and you'll see once I lock things in on the page what we're doing. And if anyone is interested in supporting any of these initiatives and want to get involved, let me know. I think we probably will go away from what we've been doing with the standard 4 to 5 presenters. I think that the other XR communities there's so many opportunities for startups to get exposure through those. Switching things up with NYVR, maybe I'm kind of excited about it. So it's a little bittersweet, but with that, I wanted to do a little down memory lane. So this is 2614, the first NYVR meeting, with me not looking very happy, but yeah. Well, this was the only picture of me because I took the only other pictures. But the DK1 there.
Did they force you to go do some VR things?
I was like, I didn't have a DK1. I was so excited to meet this guy, James Andrew, who some of you guys may know. And he came with a gaming laptop and his DK1. It was the first time I actually even saw VR. And I still love it as much as I did that day, even despite my face. And then, flash forward, we did such cool events. This was in YouTube Spaces, amazing facility. 2017, we were having 280 people, pretty much sold out. That is Ariel. Then in 2017, we were at Javits. And 2018, we were in Javits, super cool events. This was at SAP. This was our gaming night. Then during COVID, we were in alt space, RIP alt space. It's tough to do things in VR back then, but I'm excited to take on that challenge. And then post-COVID, cool rooftop bar. That was really good to get back in person with the community. And then this was just recently at NYVR back earlier this year. So yeah, so more to come. And thank you to the amazing community for all of the wonderful events. Excited for what the future looks like. So with that, I want to hand out a couple of beers and toast. And then we'll get to the presentation. So we have a couple of beers.
They don't want it.
I know. Come on, you're not giving us the dorky crowd that Kevin needs a beer.
I'm gonna walk. I'm not gonna throw it like Stone Cold. Beer?
All right, cheers everyone. Thank you. With that, we got so much content tonight. I've got a little bit too long, but that's all right. So we have Kira, Kevin, Tia, Brian, and Tim are all going to do kind of lightning presentations of their demos, and then Ralph and Alex will be doing more formal presentations. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Kira. The way we do Q&A is after each speaker, you're going to see this QR code. If you have a question, put the question into the form, and then at the end of all the presentations, I bring everyone up and we'll curate the Q&A. Okay. I recommend highly any community doing that. It works so much better than giving people the microphone that should not have the microphone.
Thank you, DJ. Round of applause again for DJ bringing us all together. I think it's been nearly a decade since I've presented in front of all of you, so I feel like I'm back in my hometown of New York, and I'm excited and nervous. And so if you don't know me, I'm Kira Benz. I'm a director and producer. I'm creative, and I love making tech, and I love to bring women to the space and more diversity in the space. But I'm just going to jump very quickly into what my studio does here. I have a New York-based studio, although I work a lot between New York and LA. And my studio is dedicated to merging emerging narratives and emerging technology. Lots of big words there, but essentially we do creative and experiential. We build tech, but we also partner with people that build tech, and we're really kind of very good at working with complex branching narratives connected with tech. We work with a lot of really great tech companies such as Meta, Bose, Microsoft, HP. I was the first director on the world's largest volumetric stage at Intel Studios. We've had work at A-list festivals and won the first Line Award for VR theater, and have really pioneered and shaped VR theater and the new wave of the XR and VR theater that's happening now. And so that's a quick high level of what my studio does. But to take you deeply into a production I've been working on for the last 2.5 years, it's called Territory. And it is a very innovative production. I've been working with artistic director Alice Shepard. You can see her flying upside down here with the orange hair. She is the founder of Kinetic Light, which is a disability-led dance and arts ensemble. They're based here in Brooklyn, and this is a really unique production that we've worked on with them for the last 2.5 years. And we've been running an impact campaign. And so this production is a multi-sensory VR experience. And it is dedicated to taking people into another world, as VR always does. It transports you into this fantastical universe where the dance happens around you. You are at the center, a witness inside the experience. And you have an amazing amount of accessible options that you get to choose at the top of the experience. So we have designed this piece with kinetic light. Their mission is around accessibility, and it's been designed with aesthetic accessibility. So it's been done to a level of artistry that I've personally never seen before in our industry. We have built a specialized, first of its kind, spatialized closed caption system. It is done artistically. It mirrors to where the sound happens in the environment. There is a second closed caption system in the piece. We have multi-track audio description. We're the first NYVR haptic studio to work with Meta Haptics. Back when their company had just been acquired and they were still based in Germany, we built one of the first screen readers for Quest. And there are up to 256 different ways that you can experience territory. Capturing this production was really unique. While I think I'm known for doing a lot of volumetric, and I love volumetric, and I've directed more than a dozen 360 experiences, we actually filmed this one with two-dimensional cameras, and then we did an old Hollywood technique with multi-planar, where we actually layered the video cards, hundreds of video cards in Unity, in a foreground, midground, and background, and we're going to make a sense of depth. The impact campaign that we've been working on for the last year is really unique. We had our grand opening at the Doris Duke Theater. We were the first VR piece to be there at Jacob's Pillows. Brilliant, innovative center that is merging dance and technology. We've been distributing around the world to galleries and other events. And we've been working on this impact campaign, which is really designed for researchers, scholars, immersive media practitioners. And we've just recently published everything. So if you go to this QR code and you click on the button case study, it will take you to all of these resources. So if you're in the field and interested in designing with aesthetic accessibility, you have an option to read through our 100+ page case study and technical report. We have documented the artistic vision. We've made it accessible to understand if you're working with an institution or an arts gallery and you're curious about what an accessible docent guide can be. There's a 100-page accessible docent guide. So a lot of great resources there. We've had some wonderful press. Thank you to Mashable. Thank you to Agog that's funded our impact campaign. We were just recently in Dance Magazine last week. We've been featured in an episode with PBS. And I just wanted to take you to share with you a very recent announcement. In the last 24 hours, we've been nominated for the PGA Innovation Award. Alongside the greats like Cosm and the Sphere, so it's really exciting. I feel like, again, this is what innovation in New York looks like. We can do anything. And I just wanted to play for you a very quick excerpt from our audio trailer. You might be familiar with visual trailers, but we have 2 trailers on this production. There's an audio trailer as well, and so I thought I'd just play a quick excerpt. If you want to close your eyes and go on a poetic journey with me.
You always have choices. Some choose to become evil, and evil becomes wrong.
Hold on.
Take two. Live event here.
Wait 2 seconds.
Don't worry, we played DJ.
DJ is playing DJ here.
Okay.
Loud, almost, yes.
Where is it? Oh,
Almost, about 2, yes.
okay. Hit it again.
Here we go.
You always have choices. Some choose to become evil, and evil becomes wrong. Now here we are. Nothing but silent net of dead wire enclosing the world at the world's end.
By strand.
Is this what we truly want?
So that gives you a quick sense of what the multi-track audio sounds like, where you get many different options to select what you might be interested in. Again, hooray for the PGA Innovation nomination. And if you'd like to stay in touch, please find me here on all of these platforms. I have an immersive podcast called Portal to the Next Stage. Please subscribe. And thank you again, community of New York. I love you all.
That's amazing. All right, next out, QR code. If you have questions. And up next, we got Mr. Cabot. Come on down.
All right, you guys can hear me? Yes. You can hear me good? Yeah? Yep. All right, cool. I teach a lot, so I kind of always have to do with the application of can you actually hear me? So, thank you guys for coming. It's great to actually be here. Thank you, DJ, for having me. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the different things that I've been working on. And I'm actually presenting an app I've been working on for a while called Nation Go. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit, but it's going to be good. So a quick little preview for me, I'm an environment and technical artist, and I focus a lot on XR technologies. I'm also the founder of a company called GX Studio Labs, which is an edtech company that's focused on teaching immersive content in art, game design, engineering, so on and so forth, to students in K-12. I'm an accessibility activist for the deaf and hard of hearing in VR and XR. And I'm also, again, developing immersive educational apps designed to augment students' learning. So here's a couple of projects I worked on over the past couple of years. The one on the far right is a project I worked on for the company called Digital. We made like a really cool, like interactive, like marketing advertising for the company Patron, which is amazing. That was back in 2020. The middle picture is a project I did for the city of Detroit. We did an immersive, like art collaboration for their, like NFL draft promotion. And then the one right here is a video project I did where I just showcased my father's artwork in XR and virtual reality. I show you all this to say that I just work in this field a lot, and I always do a lot in this industry. What I'm talking about today is I'm talking about my company, GX Studio Labs. And really quickly, GX Studio Labs is a for-profit education company that's focused on teaching students art, engineering, game design, and esports to K-12 students. It was founded as a way for students to get exposure to a bunch of different topics in the educational world of game design, art, and all things early in life. And through the GX Studio Lab, we taught hundreds of students game design, Unity, animation, art, so on and so forth over the past 7 years. One of my visions, one of my goals when I actually first started GX Studio Lab is I eventually wanted to actually not only have to be an education company, but I also wanted to extend it into XR technology as well. So a few years ago, I decided to start my first foray into actually doing this by taking my 2D animation class that I've been running for a year and converting that into a digital format. So that all culminated in the app called Flippation Go. So Flippation Go is our upcoming XR app that's designed to have immersive educational content It's an XR app that's designed to teach students how to make animations, traditional 2D animation, using XR tools. Our learning material is overlay the top of real world content and make their process of learning animation seamless. What I'm doing, I'm having a closed beta that starts now. I'm going to run it for a couple of months. I'm really just trying to get a lot of data and information on how to make this app the best experience it could possibly be for students in K-12 and throughout. So with the app, I have a couple of different modes and features. It's designed with 2 different modes of learning animation. There's a standard mode and immersive mode. What you see right here is my standard mode. Standard mode basically takes the traditional animation and sequences it in a way that a student can not only see the animation, but also trace the enjoy and make their own animation on the spot. Our XR mode uses AR technology to actually recreate this animation you see right here in the XR space, and users can navigate it and find new perspectives in your animation. So in addition to my learning material, users are also able to save and share the animation with others. There's a feature built in the app where they can actually convert any animation into an animated GIF, where they can take photos of what they made, share with others, so on and so forth. Here's a quick video on how some of the XR features work. This video is a little bit quick, but it's just a quick sample. Over on the back right-hand corner here, I have a table demo that's set up that actually showcase the app. If you want to come check that out, you absolutely can see more what the app has to offer. So right here, I'm going through the different lessons and picking all my settings. There's a bunch of different paper sizes you can choose from. You can choose whether you can do standard or immersive mode. Right here, we're doing immersive mode, and we're doing it with our light box that we made. And so in here, you actually see how the animation is overlaid on top of the real world. So I have a QR code right here that you can scan, and once you scan that QR code, and again, it's a little bit it's still a demo, so some things are still a little bit work in progress, but I overlaid educational content so users can actually navigate and learn how to make their animations. So this tutorial shows people how to actually turn on the light box, so on and so forth. think of it as an app where like if a person that never used a light box, never used anything before, they can open this app and learn how to actually do everything like from the app. And so you can like create a frame reference, so on and so forth, a bunch of different side of things. There's a tutorial video as well, and then one main thing I like to note is you can actually spawn your animation inside the app. As you can see right here, when we draw on the screen, it actually spawns a box, and inside that box you can actually see your animation. So imagine you can actually rotate the animation, move it around however you want, and engage the animation from different perspectives. Students can also like use this as a reference for their drawing and recreate the animation in a bunch of different ways. You can go frame by frame, etc., etc. So here you go right now. So today, this month, this December, we finally reached the point where we can actually start live testing this app. Currently, we have 2 unique animations that are available in both standard and XR mode. And users can also take photos of the animation, save it, share with others. And there's a couple more surprise features that you'll find out from using the app. Right now, you can use a bunch of different captures to help further polish the app and get it ready for prime time and get it ready to help budding animators learn how to make animations. A couple more stats with the app. This app is available on both Android and iOS devices. This app is available on not only just the phone, but also on tablets. And then again, more information about this app can be found at our demo table. My anticipated launch date for this app in totality is going to be Q2 2026. And that's all for me. If you want to find out more information about the app, please join me at the table in the back right hand corner, and I'll gladly tell you more. Thank you.
All right, again, QR code for questions. Theo, come on down.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to present our most recent Chinatown Arcade project. So first, a brief introduction about myself. Hello, everybody. My name is Zihao Jiang. I graduated from Columbia University Graduate School of Architecture, Planning and Preservation last year, and my main focus is right in between architecture/cultural tourism and XR/digital twin. And I was also like working in UNESCO and also PICO-XR, and also Columbia University Computer Graphics and User Interface Lab before. And after I graduated, I was lost. I was like, okay, what's my specific direction? Because I was trying to join in the entrepreneurship competition, but I didn't get money. I thought, okay, that's the bad point of the architecture. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna switch to like maybe like medical service or like gaming or whatever. So I used the 8 different hackathons to test all one by one, and realized I have to go back because that's my passion. Also, like last year at the same time, this year, like I'm also serving as a conference lead for Harvard XR in Boston at Harvard GSD. And also, this is my teammates for the Chinatown Arcade. So basically, for the Wonderlands Lab, I'm also the founder of Wonderlands Lab. I didn't mention that. Yeah, we're mainly focused on 2 parts. Basically, we're doing tours, both like online tours and in-person tours. I'm mainly going to talk about this today, but also like we're going to demo both projects today. And also for the Grand XR, like we just won the first place for the immersive travel and destination track, held by XRCC, sponsored by German National Tourism Board. So you can also try the demo, and Peter is going to get in charge of that. So, question, why am I starting to focus on AR and specifically snapped particles? So we all know that like the FOV of AR glasses is very limited, and that's the main reason why I didn't want to do that initially. But later I realized that sometimes design is always do something within the limitation, right? Like if we design correctly, we can transform this bug into a feature. So that's the initial point of the Chinatown Arcade. Alright, so this is basically the Manhattan Chinatown, and you can see here is the Dahlia Street, which is not a street anymore, but like a plaza. So that's when we decide to mainly focus on this area to enrich the public life on that place. This is like a little video trailer. You can see, you capture, model pop up, you plug it, it's more like outdoor AR scavenger hunt. more about like different hidden elements surrounding like all over the streets. All right, time is up. I think we go for it. Okay. So for the updates, like we're still trying to improve that, and also like we did our soft launch not long ago, but we're still trying to improve that. That's also the reason why I feel like community is very important, because you're going to see a lot of our familiar faces in this video.
It's like such a novel experience.
I'm going to snap glasses.
I thought it was really great. I felt very present. I really come to like even more. I really liked the gesture controls. I thought they were very simple and intuitive.
It helps you to like pay more attention to what's surrounded by you.
Just walking around, you be able to notice, but this kind of program can help you get deeper into the community.
We're playing a game right now.
This is my first time really coming to Chinatown. I'm liking it. Very lively.
There's whole teams out here.
I'll be lucky that you get a point.
You know, I've been working on AR, VR for a long time, but it's actually my first time to do it outdoors. And I think it is the right way. Let this technology connect people instead of isolating people in their bubbles. So this is really a meaningful and bold move.
This is amazing, man.
I think it was good overall. I thought it was well presented.
It's my first time experiencing anything like this.
To someone that is absolutely new to the space, he was freaking astounded. I think like Josh rocked.
This is a really good way to bring the technology in, bring the culture out.
It's always nice when people leverage technology in a way that helps people build deeper relationships.
I really appreciate that people see this and see us.
It's an old town, but with the new technology, it gives it new potential.
Also great community building and team bonding.
The pedestrians were curious, and they even came to us to ask what it is, what can you see? It's not only like a personal experience, but it's also like in a social setting, you catch attention to share and inspire more.
Always change the way we explore our city, explore the streets.
I really liked it. I encourage you guys to keep going.
Keep doing what you got to do it. I hope I can see it in more towns and more areas in New York City.
I would love to see more people support this project.
Yeah, that's the point of the community. We got a lot of like realistic user tasks. Right now we are working on the third version of it based on all of the the feedback, and stay tuned. All right, so I can skip this part, but I do want to like mention this. Like we are like working officially with Snap, and they also like give a lot of support for us, and they mentioned such an innovative way to celebrate a historical community. This is awesome. All right, so for this, it's this year earlier is like Snap NYC had, and also like our team also got the first place. But after that, we realized one thing very, very important, which is the way we use this kind of devices is meant to connect people, and also try to encourage people to navigate around, use their hands, navigate around, because like you're moving, your mind can be more clear, and you're smarter, and also like you're more active with your friends. So that's the very important reason why I switched to how to apply these mechanics to something like more interesting. Specifically, I do believe that like a good augmented reality experience, first it should be a good reality, and then it can be like a good augmented reality experience. Yeah, so you can see this is basically the gesture, very intuitive, and also have like 3 different postcards, like serve as a like map. And when you try to demo later, you can see like scenes you need to capture and pop up on top of that. And also like those like hidden elements, like we make the model based on top of that. All right, so we also went to the lens fast and demo there as well. All right, so if you wanna like stay tuned and follow our next step, we do have like a very big launch coming soon. So please scan this our official page, and we can keep you guys updated. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right, next we got Brian. Come on down. Any questions? There you go. There you go.
Hi everyone, good evening. So my name is Ryan. I am an independent solo game developer. I've been doing this for the past 5 years. Started in COVID when I just like had a lot of time, learned game development on my own, and I've been doing it full time ever since. Started with publishing mobile games on iPhone and Android, and eventually pivoted to VR, where I saw a lot of new opportunity for like innovation and just a lot of cool stuff was being done. So I needed to get on there. But yeah, I've been publishing for VR for the past 3 years. My last one was basically like a first-person shooter that used what was novel then, an arm-based movement where you basically imagine have no legs and then you walk around with your arms. And it's called Gorilla Tag Motion, which is the most popular movement style right now on the App Store and the Quest Store. And yeah, it's one of the most popular movement systems currently in that market. So I thought I want to build off of that and expand on that. So one of the game genres I enjoy the most is racing simulators and racing arcades. So I imagined how would it work in VR if your hands were wheels? So this is what I came up with. And this project is part of a meta competition for apps that just ended literally yesterday that went for 1 month. And yeah, this is what I came up with.
All right, it's time for you. Enjoy.
Yeah, it's a very brief snippet of like the theming and how the physics work. Adding all those gameplay loop elements, collecting, racing, time trials. Eventually you're going to race with friends, foes. And this is a mirror of what you look like as the character. Okay, real quick on the design principles of it. So hands for wheels, already a really weird concept, very foreign concept. So I thought, might as well go all out with the wackiness of it. I like underwater themes, I like aquariums, let's make it underwater. And for the character, might as well make it a lobster because like the claw, the pincher's breaking, it kind of makes sense. Also, I'm going for that 13-year-old to 20-year-old market demographic to where it's the absurd Gen Z, Gen Alpha humor that tends to go viral out there. A lot of game designers now are thinking in terms of virality when coming up with their product in mind. A lot of it is catered to streamers. I tend to cater more towards short-form content, so this is like the reasoning behind it. Also the bright, colorful themes. But as for the racing mechanics and the physics, the important key design decision there was literally grounding out all the visual elements by making the roads and the wheels as true to real life as possible. Because with such a novel concept with hands for wheels, people tend to be confused with how the directionality goes and how the physics work. Making them wheels makes the player think, I have to point in that certain direction to accelerate in that direction. And when it comes to informing the player in the tutorial and the UI, I thought I should go the diegetic route and use real life examples of road and signs because real life road and vehicle designers have been doing this for 100 years in terms of like the visual UI and like onboarding new people to this type of experience. So it's a racing game where your hands are wheels, you drift, you boost, you compete with other people, and it's just silly, wacky fun. And I'm demoing my game on that part right there if you're interested. So thank you.
Alright, our last lightning presentation is hold on, how do I get out of here?
This is lobster roll.
Okay. Think, come on down. And you can just yeah.
Hello, how are we doing?
Good.
How are we doing? Okay, this side of the room is almost silent. Are you okay? Hello everyone, my name is Yi-Ting. I'm the founder of Vibes, AI-powered visuals for music, brands, and activations. And I worked in the XR community for a while. I was a development manager for CF Partners, where I was leading an XR team. And I also worked a lot of creative immersive experiences as a creative technologist. And I also won the NFT Reality Hack in 2022 while creating a lifelines, more like a therapy tool in AR. And today, thank you. And today I would love to talk to you about my app, my company that I started working full-time mid-June. And welcome to Vibes. It's a real-time AI-powered visuals for live events. So the problem we're solving is that live visuals today are quite expensive, complex, and slow. And if you were to think about it, whenever you go to the venues and you would listen to the music, feel the light, but a few of them would have projections or visuals like that. And in order to tackle that, I hosted my own music festival across 5 venues in 1 month, working with 20 musicians, trying to, because I have the vision, I want to test it out in venues, and it actually has received a lot of interest from venues, musicians, DJs. So this is a snippet of what it looks like. See, the song says, I don't want to walk, because the vibes help you to, not work. Okay, moving on. Perfect. So, we've worked at different venues, Sugar Mouse Async Bar, which is a speakeasy bar. They have the cool ceiling projection on top, and then Vaudeville, as we know, is the arcade bar. And I also worked at the Red as well, projecting the visuals while working with musicians. And my vision is to make immersive music experiences accessible. And with this tool, you can just manipulate the creative environments by using AI and manipulate the camera, shaders, and visual effects. And everything in the back end is analyzing the real-time audio. So the platform is for venues, festivals, which I'm demoing right there is the Vibes Live. So feel free to try it and prompt it with your own visuals and prompts. And then there's another app, which is a SaaS app I just launched last Monday. It's for musicians and producers who want to create videos. So think about it, you have your track and you want to really promote yourself on short form content, but you were like, gee, I wonder, it's just so hard to make videos to promote yourself, and then especially when you have a lot of tracks, and the apps would help you to create everything in bulk, and then you can also create more different styles in one go, and everything is reactive. And why am I presenting this idea here? The idea is to not only export 2D video, the simple video that you see on social media, but also create 360 video, because basically it's generating the skybox environment in the engine, and it will be very beneficial for people in VR to experience the music reactiveness in the 360 video. So if you are experiential marketing or know anybody who works in the following industries, like immersive brand activations, music festivals, feel free to reach out to me and talk to me there. This is a Calendly link to book a call. So if you want to connect, I'm here. So this is the LinkedIn, and then the Vibes Live website is right there. And thank you so much.
Any questions, hit that up, and Ralph, come on down. I have to give a shout out for Ralph, because Coco VR was one of my faves. Yeah. And then when I found out that you did it, I was like, oh.
Appreciate it.
Shout out.
Thanks for having me here. I get to finally present now, so NDA is expired, so that's perfect. XR design consultant. So being a consultant can mean many things, right? But for me specifically, what I do is I work with early stage startups or very small studios, boutique studios, as I would say, and help do prototyping, establish art pipelines, create art assets, optimize a lot of stuff. It's just a fancy way of saying I fix problems when they happen. So they happen. And it's great because I have a 3D generalist skill set, which helps a lot, not just for the technical aspects of it, but I get to communicate with different departments like easily by not just knowing how to code, learning a little bit of animation, learning a little bit of rigging, but extensively in 3D modeling. So with my origin story, I graduated at SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, down south in Savannah. Anybody from SCAD here?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome! Oh my goodness! I did not know. My path here has been very linear. I studied interactive design and game development. I just wanted to work in video games. That was it for me. And actually, I'm one of the acting alumni mentors for the immersive reality program. So every once in a blue moon, SCAD would send me there to do a workshop, review portfolios, and talk to the students and some professors. But just like any other college student, I didn't know what to do. So I tried doing everything. And it turns out what I really loved doing when I was there in this program is 3D modeling. And this is some of the stuff that I did while I was in college. 3D modeling or 3D art was just fairly simple, at least for me, because it's instant gratification. You create a 3D model, you put it in a game engine. If it looks good, perfect. If it doesn't look good, you work on it again and then you just put it back, right? But since it's easy, as I would say, it's also competitive. Everybody wants to work for EA, Activision, Naughty Dog, so on and so forth. So I started looking for different industries back in college. I looked into architecture, I looked into 3D printing, but while I was a working student at our library, I saw this. One box was just there, around fall 2015 of the DK2. Who here has used the DK2? So I didn't know how to actually use it at this time. I just know that, hey, I put it in, it's a box, it's kind of heavy. I don't know how people are going to use it. I don't know how accessible it is. But at the same time, I kept it in my back pocket to see that, hey, maybe there could be an industry that would come up outside of this, right? So, yeah, I was working at a library. I was using it while I was working. I mean, it's a library. Nobody really does anything there. Everybody just reads, right? So it's fairly easy. And then opportunity came at SCAD. They opened the very first VR lab class, where the school would handpick students of different majors to work on a VR project. So this may be students from interactive design, animation, students from UX, art history, whatever. And luckily I was one of those students. I mean, I did really kind of beg to be part of this class. And lo and behold, we created Dialect Effect using Unreal Engine. It's a language learning tool in VR where we collaborated with Mandarin Chinese class there to create a virtual world set in virtual reality using voice recognition. So when you pronounce things right, you move on to the next task. You pronounce it wrong, just tell me to do it. So as we advertise this, we tried to recreate Duolingo in VR, right? I mean, that was the main pitch for it. So as a 3D artist for this project, of course, I helped create the character models. As you can see over here, there's different concept sketches by comic book artists from our school, some of the 3D assets that I made for the environment. And this wasn't a full experience, it was just a vertical slice, a very small finished snippet of the environment. Here it is as it's textured, and it was well received not just by the school, but for Epic Games as well. We got invited to talk about it and present it at the Oculus Next Gen Symposium at Menlo Park, the Facebook headquarters at that time. So yeah, this is me kind calibrating it, and then showing it to different people. So I took a chance to jump into VR while all of my peers were just looking into games. So I think when you take a risk and you just don't look back, somehow, some way, I don't even know how to explain it, sometimes you just get rewarded for it. So I was able to meet people here and network with a lot of people. And then I was able to land an internship position at a company called Magnopus for Coco VR. So Disney and Pixar, of course, there's a movie called Coco, right? So we tried to recreate a VR experience of the world Coco. And we just so happen to be, Magnopus just so happens to be the developer for the experience. So that's also one of the things that I've learned in the industry, like the publisher-developer relationship. So I was part of Magnopus. Even though I wasn't technically part of Disney and Pixar, I still had to do the NDAs. I have to watch a presentation where Mickey Mouse would tell me not to leak information or something like that. So and somehow, some way, I did feel like a Disney employee for a little bit because we're in direct connection or communication with people from Pixar. And what I mean by that is when I would make assets, in fact, I wasn't really making assets. I was taking assets from the film, optimizing it to make it run in VR, in Unity. And at this point, I was still learning Unity because back in school, we were only taught Unreal Engine, right? So I learned a lot from this experience. It wasn't as artistic, as like 3D artsy as I would say. I learned a lot of things to wiggle around in terms of, okay, how to optimize this so we have more room for features, more room for interactivity. And one of the best things is that we get to finish it, we get to tie it up, we get to finish it before even the movie came out on Thanksgiving Day. So yeah, back in November 11 to 19 of 2017, this was on different Disney stores. There were VR setups on different Disney stores all across the nation. So that was highly rewarding. And after this internship, I finished 2 more quarters. In fact, even though it was an internship, it wasn't really, nobody really knew in the company that I was an intern, so they were surprised I was going back to school. They told me like, why would you go to school? I said, I have 2 quarters left. There's like 3 subjects left, so might as well finish, right? So I finished school and then went back to Magnopus and then worked on another VR experience called Elixir. So Elixir is their premier hand tracking demo for the very first Quest headset. So as you can see here, this is at Facebook Connect back in 2019, and Mark Zuckerberg is demoing. And as you can see on the right side of your screen are all the assets that I made for the experience. So yeah, you gotta sign a waiver. And in fact, Elixir is still on the MetaQuest app, and it's free. Give good reviews. There's not been good reviews lately because most of the reviews are like, you need to make one more. No, it's one and done. That was it, you know. And then, yeah, after this one, just the pandemic happened. So it was very tricky, not just for the industry, but like the world as a whole, right? And how we look at work, how we look at remote work specifically. And this was a project for the Expo 2020 in Dubai that was delayed up to 2021. So at Magnopus, we try to figure out how can we connect the space for the physical audience and the remote audiences, right? So what we did was to create an app for it. So I would say, in a very simple term, it's like Pokemon Go exclusively for the Expo site. So as you can see over here, we would have like vast amounts of content for physical and digital, right? So there's AR activations, there's character quests and interactions, there's 360 videos, yeah, just name it. Some of the stuff that I've done here, I would receive CAD assets from architects of different buildings, and just like Coco VR, I would optimize it and make sure it runs in Unity. And then one of the things that I've done as well are mostly avatar assets for this experience. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it for the pandemic, I guess. It was great, a lot of learning experience, a lot of moving parts. But I started thinking about how do I navigate the industry post-pandemic. This was back in LA, so I moved back here to New York City to be closer to family, and started thinking of consulting, right? Consulting is, I mean, there's always pros and cons of it. One pro is I get to have a lot more freedom in terms of like providing or suggesting solutions, but the con for that one is I have to sign crazy NDAs, you know? And I may be able to work on innovative projects, but at the same time, goalposts would move, right? So I did ask, like, before the pandemic, when I was in college, I looked into the industry as this, like, here's my portfolio and my resume, how can I get a job, right? And then after the pandemic, here's my prototype, how can I get funding? Here's my game, how can I ship? And I noticed right after the pandemic, there's more control now for us creators. A lot of software got way better. There's more documentation, because when I was in college working on that VR game, we were actually emailing people from Epic Games and Facebook and like, hey, how to use this, right? But right now, there's YouTube, there's all types of information that's out there. So I decided to go into consulting. And then I was able to work on a project with a startup company in Miami, Florida called Venture Out. So who here knows like the show called Amazing Race? So they're trying to like recreate Amazing Race using XR technologies. So here's a concept trailer of it, but what they're trying to look into the long run is that, hey, what if we're using omnidirectional treadmill in VR? How would that look? Right, so I stepped into this project specifically to work on fixing their entire UI. You can see here before, it looks like Dungeons and Dragons. I told the co-founder that, hey, give me access to Unity, give me access to all your branding kit, and let me like fix everything to make it look very consistent. Because one of the problems that they had is how to translate something that's purely in 2D in their branding kit into 3D, into VR. So I even suggested something that, hey, what if we do this? What if instead of just pressing a whole bunch of widgets, a whole bunch of buttons, UI, what if you pick up the backpack to start the experience? What if you walk into a trail to start the experience? So something I've done. So yeah, they were able to showcase their project at DreamHack. Here's some screenshots of the people using the experience. So yeah, it was a very neat game to start with. But next was a collaboration with the Consulate General of the Philippines. Here at New York City, just right in front of Barnes & Noble's in Fifth Avenue. So I was able to reach out to them. By the way, I was born and raised in the Philippines, just in case somebody's wondering how I got this gig. So I renewed my passport, and then, yeah, I talked to somebody there. So I was able to bring up this idea that, hey, what if you can digitize artifacts, Filipino artifacts, fabric? What if you can create like a virtual museum that can connect Filipino American diaspora community and help them like teach like what Filipino culture is about? And it's one of the things that I've done for them initially as a pitch, that hey, let me 3D scan one of the statues. In fact, it's a statue of the national hero of the Philippines. And then see if we can preserve that. And see, as a start, what if we put it on Sketchfab? See how this one would look. I even endorsed them something with, what if we digitize digital fashion? What if we have like an avatar with like Filipino fabric, Filipino patterns, right? But eventually what they wanted was a museum, right? So, here we go. So what I was able to do for them was was a blackout at first of a museum, and then the artworks that you would see here are made by Filipino painters. I don't have audio here, but it has a Filipino musician. And then what if this is a hub for the Filipino American community to interact with each other? So I created more of a private invite-only museum for them, so they can invite speakers in, they can hold virtual events as a start, right? And that's the Consul General like waiting. So this was a 1-month project with the Philippine Consulate of New York City as a start to see what sticks on the wall. And right now there's more conversation that's happening, especially with Horizon Worlds, right? What if it's not just the government? What if it's tied with Filipino educators, historians, musicians, right? What can we do, right? So again, this is more of like a in-progress work and see what sticks and see what we can do in the future. It was widely received, and I get to talk about it at the Philippine Consulate in New York City. I was one of the panelists, together with a handful of other Filipino Americans. Widely received by the media too. Philippine Daily Inquirer had an article about it. Department of Foreign Affairs, Philippine Daily Tribune. You know what's funny? I showed my mom the video. She was not really thrilled with it. I mean, she didn't know. I showed her this because Philippine Inquirer is like really famous in the Philippines. That's when she found out what I was doing. So another thing that I've been doing most recently, just a few months ago, I was in the Philippines connecting with Philippine game developers there. One of the accessibility problems in the Philippines is it's harder for them to publish experiences or games. Here in the US, for a license to publish something in the Apple Store, it's $99 a year. Probably for Android, $25, $30, something like that. On Steam is $100 a game. That's roughly 4 or 5% for a median income for an average American. Now, in the Philippines, that 4% shoots up to 70% of their monthly income. So, if you can see over here some of the few images that I have, these independent game developers there are working 9 to 5 just to work a little bit on a Sunday to work on their game. So I connected with some people there to start a Mihan project. Amihan in Filipino means southeastern wind. I mean, we're in Southeast Asia, so that's how we called it. Started Amihan to help co-publish games made by Filipino independent game developers. One of the main things is because a lot of them focus on outsourced work. And honestly, sometimes outsourced work, especially back in Asia, it's a race to the bottom. You know, you get to pitch like what's zero price, and then sometimes the client would look for a lower price, so it's just a race to the bottom, right? There's not a lot of agency to what they're doing. So I started this with a handful of game developers to help publish more games made by Filipino independent game developers. And then hopefully soon, VR would be a part of it. Now, how do I find these opportunities, right? Number one is existing networking connections. I've been doing this since 2016 when I was in college, so it's fairly easy for me to say that I've volunteered at different conferences and conventions. So I get to meet and be friends with other volunteers there that I get to be friends with and grow up in the industry. But existing networking connections, that means also us here. Right? I'll give you an example right now. I knew Alex because of like a mutual friend from Magnopus, a former company I used to work with. Kevin, who just presented, We used to work at 2016 at a summer tech camp teaching kids make video games. In fact, this Saturday I'm going to be at his house for Friendsgiving. I know Z-How because we're going to be volunteers together at Harvard XR this coming year. You know, so, and that's just the people who present it. It's not even everybody else in the room. You know, so this industry is small, this community is small, but at the same time, meet people where they are, and that's in different layers. Meet people where they are. I'm a firm believer that maybe your next gig, your next project, your next job might not be on LinkedIn. It may be on a conference or a convention, right? And meet people where they are. Let's say for the Philippine consulate, it took me 3 meetings, or 4 meetings, I guess, to get them on board on what I'm doing. Like what I'm saying right now may make sense, but if I go to Bryant Park and do this presentation, people would think I'm crazy talking about optimization, you know, texture compression, stuff like that. Right? So you gotta meet people where they are based on how they understand what we're doing in this industry. Philippine consulate, the main thing that they understood is a virtual museum that helps preserve artifacts in VR or something that's accessible for the Filipino community. That's all they needed to hear on like 3 meetings, right? So I think for me, last thing I would want to say in terms of like meeting people where they are, it helped me a lot in terms of communicating, because I also felt that I'm only as good as how I communicate. If I made it sound sophisticated, then a lot of people would just think I'm sophisticated, right? It's very sophisticated, I guess. And lastly, I would just like to say that try to go out of the community as well. Try to go to different conferences and conventions outside of XR. I was able to meet somebody at a makeup conference, and then I ended up making a Hello Kitty TikTok filter for them that ended up becoming a QR code in F1. You know, so that type of stuff. Like Javits Center is right there, and we should take advantage of it. If people in Europe and South America are flying to JFK just to go to Javits Center, and it's just a train ride for us, right? So yeah, take advantage of it. And then yeah, that's it for me.
So much for the portfolio. All right, last but not least, Mr. Alex. Come on up. And any questions? I forgot your first name there.
There could be several. Maybe my son's presented.
Cool. Thanks, DJ. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ralph. That's cool. I've known Ralph for a few years and just learned a lot of cool things about it. Don't worry so much about this slide. The most important thing is the bottom line, certainly. And I'm excited that we're running over time. This was supposed to end 8 minutes ago. Why do I like it to be over time, DJ?
It's perfectly fine because the content kicks ass.
Yeah, but also like it gives me an excuse to talk at my natural speed, which is like, hey everyone, here's just my stream of consciousness, I don't want to talk like this because that's the speed my brain is going all the time, but I have to force myself to slow down just to make sense to you all. So let's see how well I can do that today. So we've done a few of these at NYVR before, kind of these year-end reviews, like, we've done some projects this year, what were some of our lessons? We do this selfishly as well, because this is also an excuse for us to reflect on what we've learned, and then, we can pass those learnings on to you. Hopefully there's something useful and valuable in here. Productions, prototypes, pitfalls. We love, is that consonants or alliteration?
It's alliteration.
Alliteration, thank you. The journalist over here. Who's out the lens? Who here doesn't know who we are? Because we're, couple of people. Cool, great. I saw someone over there. Basically, we come from backgrounds in architecture and theater and artistry and journalism and all sorts of live event stuff. And we've worked on a very wide variety of XR projects over the years. As you saw in the first slide, we started doing stuff with virtual reality in 2013. I was using AR when I studied architecture back in 2009, and we've done a lot of cool things along the way. So, there's some clients, cool, we can talk about any of those projects in more detail if you're curious. But what we're going to do here is kind of go through a few select projects from the year that we're allowed to talk about. We'll introduce you briefly to the project, and then we're just going to give you a couple lessons. Here's a thing we learned that's kind of a general lesson. Here's a thing we learned that's a little bit more technical, and we hope it's helpful. So, first one is our D-Box holodeck. Some of you may know that out in Austin, Texas, we have this big 5,000 square foot luxury real estate wireless, PCVR experience that is selling a $2 billion real estate thing out there. And so this year, we were able to work with our partners at D-Box down on over by the World Trade Center, and we set up a mini version here in New York. And a ton of things came out of that, but a couple quick lessons to take away is that, one, if perfect might be the enemy of really freaking good, just don't tell the client. In this case, this was a thing where we were trying to fine-tune so many little elements of how this project was working here in New York compared to Austin, because the Austin version has $250,000 worth of off-track equipment. It's a huge space. All of the Wi-Fi is fine-tuned within an inch of its life, and it's on a big cliff, so there's like no wireless interference at all. And here we're, a couple blocks from the World Trade Center, tons of different kinds of issues to basically set up a similar experience. But what we were finding, and we had to get D-Box comfortable with this because they don't do as much VR as we do, is that like all the little things we're noticing where it's like if you get to the kitchen island in the $50 million penthouse and you turn your head here, it like skips a frame. Though we spend so much time trying to massage and iron these things out, and none of that mattered because the moment we actually started putting people into the experience, they were just so blown away by like, we've never seen VR or this photo real before, oh my God, that like, of course they weren't getting hung up on like these tiny little glitches that we were noticing, but like 99% of the public would not. So it's very easy if you're a perfectionist and you've been in the space for a while to really drill down into those things, and a lot of times it's not necessary. The technical lesson, some of you might know the Edison quote about learning 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. This year we learned 100 ways to not do pass-through using Roku marker tracking. As I mentioned, the Austin edition of this holodeck space is using OptiTrack as a way to triangulate how everyone is co-located inside the experience. The New York version is working with meta-shared spatial anchors, which is actually pretty good. We found a good way to make that work in PCVR. The downside is like if Meta's servers go down or the internet's down or whatever, suddenly that isn't working anymore. So we spent a ton of time trying to make this more offline where we could use the Uruko markers around the wall to just like triangulate where you are in the space based on that. And we haven't quite cracked it yet. It's like an ongoing thing. It's pretty straightforward when you're working with a standalone VR experience. It's much more complicated with PCVR, but it's all giving us, important lessons of how to do other things, and we've learned other things along the way. So the lesson here is basically like, it's okay to kind of keep pressing on something that you haven't quite solved yet. A lot of times it'll lead to solutions that are related. Another project we got to this year was with the Royal Shakespeare Company. We got a very nice grant through XR Network Plus, and we got to go to London a few times and work with some very talented actors, directors, stage managers, etc. over there on basically a virtual reality rehearsal tool. So some of you may know that we've done a lot of work, like Kira also, we got to collaborate with Kira years ago as well, in like virtual reality performance where everyone's inside a headset. You'll see another project here that's more mixed reality performance focused. And this project was more about like how do we enable everyone who's involved in a more traditional theater pipeline to use mixed reality and virtual reality. I never said mixed reality before. That's I want to do something with that word. Mixed reality and get people to feel like they are inside the Swan Theater while they're actually just in a rehearsal room moving around the stage. And so, we were trying to take these people who are primarily not super technical, haven't done a lot with VR, but make this so useful that they couldn't help but find a reason to put on a headset and get access to the script and the blocking notes and all these diagrams that would help all these different members of the team, from production design to actors to stage managers and directors, understand more about what the final form of this production would be. Because a lot of times, for anyone who's been involved in theater, you spend a lot of time in rehearsal rooms, found spaces, etc., and you might get in the final version of your theater like 2 days before the show, and then you're like, oh, the set design here is like totally not going to be visible by that half of the audience, and like you learn all those things. So pre-visualizing this is really useful. A couple of lessons we took from this. One was don't reinvent the wheel. There's a bit of a cognitive load with someone learning things about VR. We know, a lot of us in this room, that there's tremendous things you can do in virtual reality and mixed reality that are impossible in the real world. But to onboard someone into those possibilities, there's kind of a mental ladder you have to climb up in order for that to work. So when you're trying to work with a wide range of very talented artists who don't have a more technical background, don't reinvent the wheel. Theater already is an inherently spatial medium, and you can find all sorts of ways to basically replicate the same kinds of things that are happening in a real theatrical space in virtual reality, and that works tremendously well for onboarding people into that world. So the ability for people to see each other, to see literal blocking notes the way they're used to seeing them on like a diagram, to seeing them on the stage itself, to see just a big script in front of them that kind of follows them around that's marked up exactly the kind of way they would want it to be marked up and color-coded and all that. We really didn't have to be super VR focused on like what's the best way to do this in VR as opposed to real theater. The technical lesson we have from this one is that sometimes you get hung up on little things that you would never expect to be that complicated, and this one really threw us for a loop. Dante, who led this project over there, we had some like very, very late nights, especially in London once we were actually on site there, trying to find a way to sync like all the script data across all the different ways this is working, because there's like a desktop version of the platform, there's the headset version, there's a couple different ways the script tool was set up, and you know, sometimes you would get hung up on these major pitches. I guess the real lesson here also is like, take this into account when you're figuring out billing and things like that, that you're inevitably going to run into at least a couple of things that you don't even give a second thought. It will probably be easy, and then you spend 20 hours on it, and you're like, we solved it, but that was way harder than we expected it to be. Royal Caribbean, very fun project that was kind of a handoff from our friends at Framestore. They had created this very, very intense PCVR experience that took you on this perfect day in Mexico, hot air balloon tour, very, very beautiful, required a high-end computer to run properly in PCVR. Originally, when we came onto the project, it was about like exporting a couple videos and then versions of the experience and making sure everyone had the equipment they needed to view it in PCVR. And then, we got to know the client and everyone involved a little better, and it evolved to a point where they said like, oh, do you think it would be possible to actually show this to people on a cruise ship, this maiden voyage that June on her team got to be on coming out of Orlando. And it was like, okay, well, if you're going to do this on the cruise ship, it really does need to run in standalone. And it's like, okay, what's it take to like make this whole thing run in standalone? And it's like, well, it's a really heavy PCVR experience, and like, somebody worked on Body of Mine with Cameron Christopoulos last year, and like that was a big optimization lift of bringing metahumans and all these heavy Unreal Engine assets to a point where they could run entirely standalone on a headset. In this case, well, actually, let me do this lesson first, and I'll go back. In this case, what we found was that because you're in this hot air balloon, and a lot of times what you're seeing is pretty distant, it would have been crazy for us to try to take the billions of polygons and like optimize this whole thing to run as a true 6DoF experience. So really we thought, okay, well, you want the hot air balloon to be 6DoF. You want a 3D model of the hot air balloon because you're going to lean over it and want to feel that. But pretty much everything else could be like a big inverted 360 video sphere. We tried it in stereo, and then we found like almost the entire time things are far enough away, you can actually do it in mono. And then if you do it in mono, you actually can up the resolution so it looks that much sharper. So you're looking at a beach way off in the distance, and you can see like all the little umbrellas, and it looks really nice. And this was never something that had to come up in a meeting. The meetings were just like, how's it look? It looks good. And we didn't have to get into the technical details of how we were pulling this off. We very much tend toward like, let's explain everything. We're in Unreal Engine 5.6 and we're using these plugins, and it's like 90% of the time none of that is necessary. The general lesson here is about throughput. We had to do
1,000 people.
Thank you, Henry. 1,000 people across 3 days, yeah.
3.5.
Yeah, so Henry in particular and our team did a really good job taking the time ahead of all this to figure out like all these little details that like I would never in 1,000 years think about, like the battery charging and like how much are the headsets going to heat up. And if you got 4 people, was it 4 people inside the hot air balloon? One time? 6 at one time. 6 at one time in the hot air balloon. Like, and it's kind of a loose multiplayer experience. We're triggering things with OSC, which again comes from some of the stuff we've done in theater. We had to have like a really clean way to like pump people through this experience. It was just June on our team running this. There weren't a bunch of docents or anything like that. And it worked. It went really well. And it was because of all the time that went into making this as straightforward and frictionless as possible, and really saying like, okay, every 15 minutes we're going to swap out this headset, put in this battery, and just having like a rhythm to it that went really, really well. So we feel more prepared for like trade shows.
Well, the operator device, which actually told you what to do when, was huge.
Exactly, yeah. So we had like an iPad app that was like, which showed you like, here's the battery of all the headsets, here's like, the button you press to make everything run at the same time. Like really, really useful for making all of that work well. City Apparition was a project that we actually, fun fact, got from here. We were set up over there in one of the screenshots that DJ showed earlier in the year, and we had our friend Wayne come over, and he looked at another project we're going to talk about and said, oh, maybe you guys would be a good fit for this thing I'm trying to get off the ground. And it's this interactive museum installation, really, really beautiful project. Wayne's a wonderful artist who had a very clear vision of what he wanted in this. I can tell you want to say something.
Well, you wanted somebody to consult.
Yes, that's right. It started off as just consult on this. He's like, I already got a team, I kind of know what they're going to do. Maybe you guys can help us refine a few things. And then it very quickly became oh, no, we could just do, the entire thing. So, when we started to talk to Wayne more about where we could go and how our talents and skill set could fit into this, it very quickly became well, let's just give you some numbers. And very quickly it became oh no, actually it makes total sense for you guys to basically do this entire project, which worked out really well. And we're learning this too, sometimes with the client it's yeah, we want to put together a big formal SOW that breaks down all the costs and really lays out exactly what our role is going to be in this. Sometimes you can just talk to someone and be here's a couple ballpark figures and basically the two-sentence version of what we do for each of those numbers, and that can actually land you a project pretty quick. And then our technical lesson for this was for user interaction, err on the side of the more obvious. This is mostly an on-rails experience. You're in VR and mixed reality and all these amazing things are happening around you, but there's kind of one key point of interaction, and just because it isn't part of most of the experience, we were finding that for anyone who hadn't spent a lot of time in VR or MR, they just were not doing that thing where you needed to interact. So in the next iteration this will be doing, there's a lot of ways to instruct people what to do. You can do it with audio, you can do it with a little video pop-up, or if you're in VR, you can literally show here's a ghost hand reaching out and grabbing this object, and now you're actually seeing exactly what you need to do to build a rocket ship. So the more you can guide a user through something like that, the better. Hillbilly Lane is a crazy project out in Austin, Texas, that also came out of our work with Four Seasons. Someone had come to the project out in Austin and said, get me the team who made this. We're very lucky that we have, we're lucky that we have no biz dev arm at all. Pretty much all of our projects is someone coming to us or seeing us at a trade show or a Real Fest or something like that and being this thing you guys are doing is kind of like this other thing I want. And then we just kind of go from there. This is a very high fidelity digital twin. It is very much a vanity VR project. Usually when we're working in architecture and real estate, there's a very clear purpose as it's for the architects and the designers and it's to help them better understand what the shed or, David Geffen Hall at Lincoln Center is going to look like before it's built. Or it's a sales tool, it's for marketing, it's pre-selling real estate. In this case, it was no, the design is we know what the design is going to be, and it's already sold. This is basically the owner who has enough money to be hey, I just want to show off to people what this is going to look like before it's built. So we haven't had one of those projects before, and it's been kind of interesting so far. Now, one of the key lessons here also I found was very, very relevant back when I used to be more of a traditional architect, which is that when you have a lot of different teams working on this, we've got, one architecture firm that is kind of leading everything that's happening with the exteriors and the facades. There's an interior design team. In other cases, you might have teams working on structures and electrical and all these different things. It's good to have the deadlines staggered because a lot of times you'll end up in a situation where if everyone has the same deadline, they're all sending you the same 3D data at the same time, and it's overwhelming. And then when someone's great, how long until I can see it in VR? You're just in this pile of 3D models and PDFs and whatnot, and it takes a while to sort that out. So we started very clearly telling the different teams who we're working with on this project to give us certain deliverables at certain times, different from each other, so at any given moment someone can say, hey, what's this looking like in VR right now? And we've got a pretty good way to show them something that's relatively updated from one or more teams. And then a technical lesson here is there was a bit of a misunderstanding when we originally came onto this project where they thought that they wanted it at one of the tiers we had offered, and then we showed it to them, and they're oh, this doesn't look photorealistic. And we're yeah, the tier you selected is conceptual spatial design. And they're well, we want it to be photorealistic. And so then it became well, let's show you guys what the different tiers look like. So we built out this vertical slice that showed 3 different versions of what the project could look like, and it's here's ultra polished, every material is unique, you won't see any tiling, and you've got birds and entourage and all the trees are blowing in the breeze, and then we have something that's generally good looking artist photoreal, and then something that's more conceptual. And that was a very quick way, just focusing on one viewpoint, one path, or walking forward toward this guest house here and experiencing that in different ways that very quickly sold them on a higher tier of photorealism and also therefore a higher tier to pay for. Your Mind Girls. This was another project that grew out of Actually, where did Your Microbes come from originally?
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember.
It was before I joined.
Yeah. So Hope Hutton, who's been to quite a few of these meetups as well, was the author of this really lovely piece that she wanted to do with mixed reality. And she'd seen Christmas Carol.
Yeah, and she approached us.
That's right. She approached us because of Christmas Carol and said, like, hey, based on what you guys do with that show, I wonder if you guys could, like, lend me a show controller because I'm trying to do this mixed reality piece. I'm the artist in residence at Barnard and all that. And I just wanted a way to, like, fire show cues and like make the set design progress. And we're like, sure, we'll help you with that. But it very quickly ballooned into a lot of other things that were specific to that production. It turned out great. We're really happy with the result because we had all the members in the audience there physically on site in quests using mixed reality to see one live actor on stage, Dawn, who was incredible, and Dawn had to interact with all these virtual characters and assets that she couldn't actually see. And so just a fun little stagecraft trick, what we did was we gave her spike tape on the ground to know like where characters would be standing at key moments, and then we just made all the characters the same height as her. So from like an eye contact level, it's much easier to like look straight ahead than try to be like, oh, the character is like 6'5", and I gotta look like about there. And so the audience was really convinced, and they like kept peeking under their headsets to like try to understand how she knew where all these characters were. One of the challenges, the general lesson, was that a complex project like this can be thrilling, but it's also just a perfect breeding ground for scope creep because, we get excited about this stuff and we want to keep going. And, it's really hard to say no when someone says, can you do this thing that is definitely out of scope, but, is a thing you really want to do and are really excited about. So that's something we're still working on, controlling for ourselves, especially if it becomes one of those things where it's like, yeah, this will just take an hour. And then, 3 days later, we're like, I've almost got it. So all of us have been through that a little bit. And then, similarly, because here we're using, again, some of the stuff we did for the New York holodeck, like shared spatial anchors and all that, we're trying to keep up with the latest capabilities of the technology. The original discussion was let's give her the same tools for Christmas Carol that we've kind of been iterating on for the past few years, and some of it hasn't changed that much. But in this case, it was there's a new SDK out. Oh, there's a new thing you can do with, Quest 3 and Pass-Through. And we wanted to be using, the latest, greatest features, which often, frankly, a lot of us in this room know this, are broken or not stable. So that's a challenge. Yeah.
But Mokopi, too.
Yes, Mokopi, too. Yeah. And so Sony kindly, sent us some Mokopis to do some of the mocap here with this. And Mokopi's great for those who've used it because it's, a relatively straightforward way to do mocap. But, it had some limitations. So, some of the ways that we did some of the mocap sessions for this, we were kind of leaning into those limitations with when something would kind of be jank or out of whack, we'd lean into that to make that actually part of the final mocap result. Project Halcyon, quick one here. This is a project led by Dante and our team. Some of you know that we got to go to the Galactic Star Cruiser experience a couple of years ago. And while we were there, very aware that the Star Wars experience was closing and that many people were not going to get to experience it, we thought, hey, let's scan the place. Because Disney, even though they don't have an official policy on fan-made things, they're generally pretty tolerant about it. And here we are 2 years later, no one has sued us or sent us a cease and desist. But we decided to start creating this as a big open source project, non-commercial. Anyone can hop in from around the world and start using our Unreal Engine project as we build out this version of it. Last year we premiered kind of a digital twin version, which was very much focused on the architecture side. And as we're wont to do this year, we brought a lot of our theater tools into it. And now you actually have the ability to cosplay and LARP as some of the characters from the Star Wars experience and move through it, and it's been really fun. Open source projects are great. It's a great way to give back to the community, give them fun things to play with. They inspire people and they bring people together. We've met all sorts of cool people who love Star Wars first, and then they like VR or like Unreal Engine, and it's kind of pulling them a little bit more into this ecosystem in a way where we otherwise would not have connected to them. Technical lesson is open source can be a big can of worms. Everything from the collaboration side of it, where you got people giving you kind of broken assets, they're optimized, and it's do we remodel this from scratch, or do we find a way to bring it in? Because you also want to preserve some of the artistic license that people are taking as they're kind of putting their own spin on everything from the characters to the geometry and the lighting and all that. We're not trying to do a perfect one-to-one creation. For example, in the gift shop for this experience, we don't want to show the actual things that were in the gift shop. We want to show fan-made creations by other people who have built things in the world of Star Wars and give them a chance to advertise the work they're doing. So finally, almost finally, a bonus lesson here is something we've been very lucky and I guess good at lately that I wanted to pass along, is that if you don't have money, if you're a bootstrapped company like us with no investment, but you see really cool expensive hardware and you want to do stuff with it, the shortest way to get that expensive hardware without paying for it is to have a really cool use case. Like so many of these companies, if you approach them and you're like, hey, your thing that costs $40,000, we can't buy it or afford a license for it, but we want to do this really cool, weird live event thing with it. You'd be surprised how many times they'll say yes to something like that. At least to see like a lot of times you'll get a response that's kind of like, really? You think you can do that? We'll be like, let us try, and we kind of prove it to them. But we've had like Apple give us Apple Vision Pros. We had Mukoki give us stuff. We had Move and Tracing, which is a single mocap AI system. They've given us a device. And it's just been fun to be able to like play with all this stuff and then figure out where it's going. I think I'm allowed to say that a couple members of our team were just at the Android event in Mountain View, and we now have like a dev kit of the new Android XR glasses, and like that's a fun thing we're going to start playing with. We're very excited, by the way, especially for the theater use case, to think about how all the stuff we're doing right now evolves as what you put an audience in. It becomes less a big headset, face computer, and more just like something like glasses that you might be able to wear for 40 minutes, an hour, and not feel particularly uncomfortable in. Now, just a couple things that we are currently involved with. First, I have to introduce Stage Presence, which is a toolkit where we said, hey, all the stuff we've been doing for Royal Shakespeare Company and Christmas Carol and Your Mind Girls and all that, they have these overlapping areas, and we're kind of using different elements as like templates as we begin each project. We took some time out this year to really start to create like a live performance toolkit, which we got to present at SIGGRAPH and cool stuff like that. But that's allowed us to do things in a much faster way than we were able to before. So Christmas Carol, of course, is the prime sandbox where all this stuff gets created. For those who don't know, this is a show we've been doing every year since 2021. We actually already had a show this year at Raindance because it was nominated for Best Immersive Theater, and that was cool. It is a free show. This is one of our ways of like giving back to the VR community. We just want you to come and have a good time haunting Scrooge with us. There are live shows happening through December 21st, and you can get your tickets and more at xmascarolvr.com. Also, Dante was kind enough to bring a headset tonight where we finally cracked something we've been trying to do for a couple of years, which is to find a way to use Unreal Engine's replay system, traditionally used in like a first-person shooter, oh, headshot, let's see that again, kind of way. We're using that for the theater, so we're using that to record all the things that are happening over the course of the hour-long show, and it captures it, and then we can just play it all back. So what we have there right now is actually one of our rehearsals. So you hear like our stage manager, Michael, saying things to the actors and all that. It's kind of like a fun little behind-the-scenes thing, but it captures everything. Everything that happens with the mocap, the performers, the cues on stage. It captures everything the audience is doing. So if you got someone who's just like flying around in a circle for 3 minutes straight for no reason, it's preserved in Amber and will always be there because there's no good way to edit the file, which is kind of a blessing and a curse for that system. So yeah, that's fun. Come check out Christmas Carol. We also have beautiful new music this year from our composer Catherine Beggs. So if you've seen the show before, it's going to feel a little different, and we're excited for that. And then lastly, our pal and colleague Kevin Lason just did a production at Caveat called The Harm, where he is inside a headset using Stage Presence, and he does this crazy version of Chekhov's play, The Harmfulness of Tobacco. It's meta in like 7 different ways, not just because of the headset. And then he's going to be doing it out in LA on January 7th, in case anyone will be out there. And then he'll be back doing it again here at Caveat. It's a crazy one-man show and a ton of fun, and you can learn more at instagram.com/theharm or by scanning that QR code. Lastly, yes, I and AgileLens now run the Unreal NYC community, which was something we kind of fell into, thanks to James Laughlin for that. And we are doing meetups, sometimes at Epic's office, sometimes at other places. We just had our December event at SVA, and we're very excited to be working with NYVR and all the other cool people on the holiday party coming up. And we have a Discord and the Unreal Communities area, and we usually have swag and pizza and soda and things like that to throw to people. So if you're interested in Unreal, come hang out with us, and that's it. Thank you so much for listening.
I think we're going to stop here. I don't have any questions anyway, but thank you very much. I'll leave the rest of the time for some demos and more to come with NYVR.
Okay.
Oh,
You talk fast. It's for a good reason.
We also have
I think he said he just passed it on that since I ran so late.
Yeah.